So let's look now at the 5 steps to harness the power of intention. The first step is to shake up your old stories and your belief systems. Okay, now how do we do that? But just as you were saying, we need to, like, undo is quite a heavy word, because undo implies you having to really work hard at it. And I think it is conscious work, but it isn't really the sweat that we deem it to be. So how do we undo all of that stuff? We basically need to, because you can't just suddenly hit something from resistance, because what you resist persists. So if you try and undo something, you're basically giving all your attention to that thing that needs undoing. And if you're looking at that thing that needs undoing, you're looking at the thing that needs undoing, which is that thing which will always need undoing, and that will be perpetuated. Does that make sense to you? Cool. So I always like to have the vision of the future, and that's what Joe Dispenza says. So sometimes not to focus too much on what needs to be resisted, what needs to be pushed away, what needs to change. Let's focus on replacing that with more healthier things. So we become the observer. So what you need to do is, all the stuff that's on automatic now, that comes up normally, you observe it. You suddenly see now, look at yourself from the perspective and saying, this thought that's coming up now, as soon as you react to something, ooh, because I do that now often, and sometimes it can really, what the hell are you thinking? Try not to beat yourself up for thinking old thoughts. It's just a habit. So observing those thoughts. Is this an old truth? Is this an old story? Is it? Because you're going to do it anyway. So when that does come up and you observe it, then you're able to say, hold on a second, this is my old story, my old highways, and I can adopt a new story, and I can create a new truth. I can think new thoughts. New thoughts, new story, different circumstances. Cool. So we will do something that's symbolic. We are going to be looking at releasing old thought patterns, old story patterns, and old thoughts. We'll give you a chance at the end to make a list of that, and I'll remind you as well. What you're going to be doing with your thoughts as you're observing them, you're going to be refining and redefining them. You're going to be looking at them, you're going to be gentle with yourself when you do this. And you're going to be seeing what thoughts are coming up that are supporting old stories. And you're going to be looking at old thoughts coming up that is going to support, that either support or don't support your new intention. We're getting to you making your intention just now. All right. Okay, so what tools do we have for that? Okay, anyone is unsure, because we do know your beliefs are important behind it. So it is very important that we have at least an intention that we can resonate with, that we have belief in, that we can subscribe to. So if anybody is unsure of where the intention lies, or finding out more about their true authentic selves, we have tools for you for that. On the website, which is successloops.com.co.za. So that's .com. Just type in Success Loops, you'll find the website. On the free resources page, we have a list of assessments you can do, and the assessments will help you ascertain your personality types, even your business profile, your hierarchy of values. I did all of these in the first week of this month, and I've done them all before, but I continue to do them because I keep on looking with them. I highly recommend you do it. Check yourself out. You're way bigger than what you ever give yourself credit for. Dr. John D. Martini swears blind, and I'll be quoting him later, that if you are in alignment with your values, the stuff that you naturally gravitate to, not the stuff you've been told to do, the stuff you naturally gravitate to, he says you basically are on the path of the universe kind of conspires with you, because you're now living in harmony with that. Your existence is not random. You are super consciously conspired. There's proof, there's books about that. Okay, super consciously conspired is the most powerful, intelligent force in the universe came together to create you, individual you. So explore your individual you-ness. You'll discover your we, because anyone that is unsure of any subject naturally becomes a follower. Anyone that is following their interests, their passions, usually becomes a leader, because you step into the leadership role. So there's not natural born leader, natural born follower. Everybody's a leader and everyone's a follower. That's just how it is. It just depends if you are in sync with your values, your priorities, and and where you stand. On the free resources page, there is also the free course called Training with Titans, where all of the guys, like Joe Dispenza, like Tony Robbins, like Gary Vee, Dr. John D. Martini, I've gotten all of their nuggets of their success strategies, and there is a course that's for free. Anyone can do it. Each and every one of them gives like their 5-point nuggets, and I teach it in a way where I'm using music and a live looping pedal to try and help the attention, retention, and recall of all the key concepts. Cool, so it's a lot of fun. So check that out. There's two resources. Okay, so the first one: shake up your old stories and your old belief systems. Look at what old thoughts are coming up, how they're serving you, or they're not. Can you refine and redefine them so that you can align them with your values and with your revised intention? That was point one. Number 2, uncover your intention. Now, I don't say discover it. I'm saying uncover it. Because once you do the assessments and you start to peel away some of the layers of onions, you uncover what is already there and it has always been there. Often we cover things up because from fear-based. Sometimes we cover things up because we've always lived from the point of being told what to do from a child, and if we do what we're told what to do, we get acknowledgement, we get love, we get approval, and that's why we continue to do that. We then start to identify with that, and then we continue doing that, and we think that's who we are. Not always the case. You've got to try and get to a place where you self-love, self-approval, self-acknowledgement, and forget everybody else. That's a scary thing to do. So it's important. Now, this is a work in progress, so forget perfection when it comes to this. This is an ongoing journey. Space of the universe never ends, it's infinite. So our expansion is like the universe, it never ever ends. So write it down daily, brainstorm it, take the assessments and see what comes up, and cross it out, throw it away, work on the next one, because it'll get better and better and better. Practice makes incorrect. No such thing as perfection. Thank you so much for jumping into that one. Forget perfection. Practice makes permanence. All the thoughts that we have practiced in the past has become our story. It becomes our permanent, which is why we keep experiencing the same circumstances time and time again. So let's get rid of it. No such thing as perfection. Perfection implies that there is a ceiling and there's no room for improvement. Are we still breaking Olympic records? Every Olympic Games? Yes, they are. If there was perfection, there would be a cutoff. There is endless growth. So that perfection is sometimes our worst enemy, because we often won't do anything. We'll go into procrastination. We won't, because it needs to be perfect. So often we're living for love, approval, and acknowledgement. Cool. So forget the perfection. Just start. Write it down. Even if it's Greek, even if it makes no sense to you whatsoever. But write it down and then refine it and redefine it. Get to the core issues of what you really want. What is the stuff that you naturally gravitate to when you've got time to do nothing? Where are your values? What's caused you the most pain? And what has caused you the most pleasure? Because often those two things are related. Cool. So work hard in getting it aligned and attuned with your priority personal values so that it is supported by your beliefs. Critical. Any placebo only works because you believe in it. Vanity. It is now beyond question. So I'll read that again. So work hard on getting getting your intention aligned and attuned with your personal priority values that are supported by your beliefs. If you can get this right, then we're on the home straight. Cool. The tools to help you with this. So with that, trying to gain alignment to that. If you're struggling with closing that distance we spoke of earlier, and aligning with our soul space, then my Success Loops has a YouTube channel. And on our YouTube channel, there is a playlist that is called Daily Quotes and Affirmations. And you'll find that on there is Louise Hay has a beautiful one called All's Well in My World, and it's I Love Myself. So there's self-love. There's another beautiful one by, I can't think of her name right now, but it's there. Show me how to love myself. Trust me, self-love and feelings of unworthiness are our biggest scourge. We need to work on our self-love, our self-acceptance, and our self-worthiness. We've been lambasted from an early age that we're never worthy enough, and we have to do all kinds of things to prove our worth. Nonsense. Worth is something you were born with, like love. You don't have to learn love or earn it. It's just in you, it's what you're made out of. Your worthiness is part and parcel of that. Let's work on it. They have that, so please go check out those on the YouTube Success Loops channel on YouTube, and the playlist is Daily Quotes and Affirmations. Yes, on the previous one, the Training with Titans course that I spoke of, that's free on the website. Go check out the Fears versus Faith and Faith versus Fears training that I did right here in front of a live audience here at Abstinence Soul some years ago. It talks about our core fears and our core issues of worth and how to actually break through to the other side. So those are tools you've got to get through that. So we've got number one and number two. Number one being shake up your old beliefs and your old stories. Number two, uncover your intention. Number three is now we're going to get crystal clear clarity on defining our intention. We've got to now dig deep into what is it specifically. We've got to get into the specifics of it and check right beyond. So you've got the assessments for all of that to give you the clarity. Those will help you. Once you start getting crystal clear clarity on it, then also remember that it still will evolve, so you still will do the minor adjustments. But when it starts becoming down to a core thing that isn't changing radically, then stick with that. Write it often, and in fact, learn it that you can recite it like a mantra, so that it's automatic. It's a new thought, and it's locked in there. It's anchored. So if I phoned you at 3 o'clock in the morning and say, recite me your intention, you'd be able to go, number one, to remind everyone that their existence is not random, but was super consciously conspired by the most powerful forces in the universe. Number two, to share success strategies with everybody. Number three, to lower the global cases of divorce and depression. Number four, to share deeper truths, because we think we know all, but we don't. And to share that with everyone, and to raise collective consciousness. Now, I wonder whose intention that was. We all know that's mine, yes. Correct. Right. Did you see now I didn't read notes? I didn't stutter that much, but I pretty much was able to say it ad lib. That's where you want to be. You want to have crystal clear. If it's more than one, then break it down to a lot of success strategies talk about 3 to thrive or 5 to thrive. So don't make it too many big things. The main reason resolutions or New Year's resolutions fail is because we all want to do everything all at once, and we also used to there's all sprint, no marathon mentality. It's all about instant gratification, click of a mouse, and that just doesn't happen. Some of the best things in life take a little bit of time. You don't get them instantly. It's an investment. So that was number 3. Let's move on to number 4. This is a cool one. This is where you have to list your reasons why it's so important to you. Okay, now like I said, your beliefs behind something is what makes the placebo instantaneously manifest. And your beliefs are basically also run by emotions. I love the word emotion, emotion, energy, and motion. For me, emotion is the language of the soul. There's a lot of energy there, and energy flows where attention goes. So be conscious of where you're putting your attention. So you're going to be creating a list of reasons of why your intention is important to you. And we'll ask you to do that this evening, just to start a couple. But I'm asking to build it up to 10, to build it up to 20, to build it up to 30, to build it up to 50, to build it up to 100. The bigger the better. I did a thing called the Wealth 500. The Wealth 500. Now that is where the challenge is to 500 reasons why wealth will serve me. And you're like, well, the obvious ones, well, I can provide for my family, I can uplift more people, I can have more influence. And then after a while, you start to really thumb suck to get stuff out. So I did 500 reasons. It was and I broke it down into each day I do about 12 or so. Sometimes it would be 20, sometimes it would be 10, but a minimum of 10. And gradually, after 50 days, I'd reached my target. So the more, the better. Don't shirk on that. You've got to get to why it is important to you, because emotions really are the fuel of the universe. Get in behind it. You're also seeing the reasons for your feelings behind why you desire it. You're looking at what does it mean to you, and what are your emotions that surround that. And it's also a point of discovery, because it'll show you a lot about yourself as well, and you sort of see patterns as well to get to know your authentic self. Authentic self is your superpower. So the tools for that is very important. So you're basically looking at what it is, and getting clear on it, and then why, the reasons why behind it. Now it's important to ignore for now the how. Put the how behind you and put the where behind you. Don't even go there. So don't worry about where it is or where you're going to find it, and don't even worry about how you're going to make it happen or how it's going to happen, because you're going to put yourself into overwhelm, and you'll put yourself into block, and you'll immediately bring up the old school thoughts, stories, and beliefs of how I can't, it's impossible. So don't go there yet. We're looking at priming the pump to get it ready first. So very, very important. Just list those reasons and get them done. As many as possible, make it a daily task. Point number 5. So very last on the list, and this is only when everything else is done. When you really have gotten everything else under the belt, and you can recite your intention like a mantra. Then you become to mapping it out. Now the mapping it out part is, have you ever noticed sometimes when you've done a puzzle, when you're in a magazine or something, and it's like you've got to get through a maze or something like that, and if you find that if you start at the end and work your way to the beginning, sometimes it's a lot easier than what it was than facing from the beginning. Anyone ever tried that? Has anyone ever experienced that? People nodding their heads, thank you. You can say, yes! Cool. So this is what we're going to do with this. Sometimes it's better to reverse engineer. This is powerful as well, as I'll explain why. When you reverse engineer, you then forget about the hows and the wheres and all of that, and you actually jump to the goal realized, the actual manifestation, and you actually go to it like it's already happened. That's super powerful, because once you have the vision of the future that it's already done, the cogs of the universe then basically say your mind doesn't know the difference between something imagined or something real. So if you are going forward in time to seeing this, then you actually your brain doesn't know the difference. So it's actually seeing it as a complete, a done deal. Very important, because then the feelings and the emotions start to back it up, and so does the circumstances. Just like when your wife was pregnant, everywhere when I was walking around town, there's a pregnant girl, there's a pregnant girl, there's a pregnant girl, there's a pregnant girl. Anyone notice that? I never know, an aunt of mine got a car, Chevy Spark. So I looked there, I'd never seen this car before, this is an interesting car. Well, the rest of the year, all of those cars were in my way in traffic. I couldn't get by, they were cutting me off, they get in my way, behind, all over the place. As soon as you give something attention, it shows up more often. So give that vision the attention it deserves, and then you'll see more evidence of it. All right. Then what you do, then what you've got, so you've got that vision, boom, my attention, done. It's a done deal. This is what it looks like. Wow. Then basically come back to where you are in your present. Okay, this is important. You've got to be exactly where you are in your present. You can't jump the gun. All right, because you need to come from this place to this place. So you'll be, and then you chunk it down in very small, little bite-sized digestible increments. Small, baby steps. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Cool. So you made that. You should check my notes quickly. Chunk it down in tiny bite-sized increments. Small. Okay, examples, yes. So let's just say my intention was, readers are leaders. I want to read 12 books a year. One every month. 12 books a year. And it's like, here I am, already 3/4 of the way through January, I haven't picked up a book. I'm thinking, and then I'm usually going into the frame of mind, which is the logical frame of mind. I'm now in the brain, I'm not in the heart, and I'm then in a defensive kind of mode, I'm in the stress, and then everything shuts down. So rather than saying 12 books a year, how about I read just 12 pages a day? That's not too difficult. I'm not going to get any stress over there. 12 pages a day. Here's another example. I promise I read this before. Let's just say your intention is, I want to lose 30 pounds. Okay, that's your intention for the year. How about reframing it like this? Instead, I'm going to do 30 minutes each day with a partner at our local gym. Okay, does that make sense? So chunking things right down and then taking the small little steps. You don't want this, you don't want the overwhelm of such a big lofty goal. You want to break it down into tiny little reachable steps. So this is where Dr. John Demartini comes in, and Dr. John Demartini, I don't know if anyone knows him either, but basically he was when he was young, he had a deformity, his legs were in braces. And this basically said if he didn't have that, he said he wouldn't have the urge to travel because he wanted mobility. Now one of his high values is traveling the world. The second of all is he had a learning disability. The teacher said, well, he'll be a beach bum, he'll be a surfer boy for the rest of his life, write him off. And he struggled at the age of 17, he couldn't read or write properly. And he tried to do the SATs to get into a university and failed badly. And he came back home a mess, and his story is he basically collapsed under the dining room table. And his mom actually joined him there. This is the healing power of moms. And she basically put her arms around him and said, no matter what you do, no matter what you become or don't become, and whatever other labels he says, my love for you will never ever change. You will always have a place in my heart and in my house and whatever. And basically this just fired him up. And from then on he said, look, I'm going to start learning how to read and write. So he got a dictionary and he just shows 30 words a day. He chunked it all down. And now he's regarded as the world's polymath. Has anyone heard of the term polymath? Polymath is basically a self-made genius. If Einstein was a natural-born genius, Dr. John Demartini is a self-made genius. He taught himself how to, from a person who couldn't read or write at age 17, he learned how to speed read. He's got 30,000 books here. The guy he's on another level. He's brilliant. It is such mind candy. I get just excited when he comes onto YouTube and I listen to this. It's like, whoa! And he does such research. And it's just really simple, and He's outside of the box. He also has the spiritual aspect, but that's also backed by science, albeit quantum science. Okay, so he says, every day the question to ask yourself is, what is the highest priority action I can execute today that will bring me optimum results with my current resources? Okay, so just a simple question. What is the highest priority action I can execute today that will bring me the optimum results with my current resources? And that's pretty straightforward, but how often do we practice it? So the reason why that doesn't often really, it's so simple and straightforward, but we don't follow it up is because of this. So he says, if you don't fill your day with high priority actions that can maximize desired results, then your day will fill up with low priority distractions that will render you unproductive. I'll say that again. If you don't fill your day with the highest priority actions, okay, that inspire you and that can maximize your desired results, then your day will fill up with low priority distractions that render you unproductive. All right. He even says that ADHD in children is, and this resonates with me, is because in the schooling system is teaching them things that are outside of their personal values. Okay, you give an ADHD kid, and could they say they have attention deficits? Okay, and I'm not a big one for labels, but it's basically you give that same child an iPad or a phone, you'll have focused attention for hours and hours. Give him his computer game, or he'll have focused attention. Okay, so if you can get your attention onto the stuff that inspires you, that is, and everyone's different, so yours is all different. The stuff that inspires you, that is aligned, and in tune with your core values, then your attention will come naturally, because you have a natural tendency to give it your focus. Which is why they say that's just do that, and your success, you're on the home straight, you're on the finish line, because it's something you're passionate about. The question to ask yourself is, this is looking at it from a completely different angle, is then saying is, whenever you are faced with a choice or a decision that comes your way, and often if you're the people pleaser like me, you'll often say yes to something that isn't on your priority list, that isn't serving your greatest. That just fills you up with resentment, fills you up with anger, and doesn't put you in your inspired state. So the question you ask yourself, when faced with a decision, is the action that I'm being asked to take, or is the action that I'm about to take, does it align with my intention? Does it? Simple. And if it doesn't, can you say no to it? Can you find another alternative? Can you outsource somebody else that can do that? All right. Because then it's all about aligning with that intention. Okay. For anyone that has a bit of a hassle regarding success strategy, I wrote a course which is called 3 Keys to Sustained Success, and in that it gives you a strategy to follow to optimize things. So this course itself, look, it's a paid course, it's only $9. That's like 130 Rand, isn't it? It's really peanuts. So this course, there was a company called Course Marks, and they do a lot of course reviews and ratings. This particular course was rated as the top 4% out of over 98,000 courses. Out of 98,000 courses, this course was said your top 4%. And the rating that it was given was a 9.4 out of 10. It was really, really cool accolade to get, because it was really nice to get to see that. Because you often think, is this good enough? You often cross-question. Those are the stories that crop up. I do the exact same thing as well. So there is a strategy for that shows you exactly what to follow in that course. If you're interested, that's a tool you can use. Remember to check the website on the free resources page. Remember the Training with Titans. The Training with Titans is the inside secrets of super achievers. Remember my YouTube channel, where there is the fear versus faith, and faith against fear trainings. And there is also the daily mantras and the affirmations. So please make use of those. Anyone that has an intention that includes romance or your intimacy, there's a course called Intimate Connection, and it's all about really shaking up the way we view relationships, because kind of Hollywood sets this false premise that the person that your partner completes you, when in fact we're all complete human beings to begin with. So you actually, it's not like anyone can ever complete you. You actually partner with someone to celebrate each other's completeness together. So that's a very cool course. Anyone that's the CEO or of a business that's looking at scaling it, we've got cultivating a permanent, healthy corporate culture, make your workplace a happy space, if that's anybody that is interested in that. Also, when you're on the website, our monthly newsletter, as I call it, is if anybody wants me as the mentor in your mailbox, as I like to fondly call it, so there's the mentor in your mailbox, there will be a place on the website for you to subscribe to our monthly newsletter. Your details will always be safe, and you can unsubscribe at any time you like. Cool, so we're now going to get to, all right, now this is the part where you guys come in. So first of all, the first thing that you were going to do was to make a list of, thanks for paying attention, the stuff we're going to release. The stuff that happened in the past, our old thoughts, our old belief systems, our old stories, stuff that we need to shed. What are you ready to shed? Make a list of that. On that same piece of paper, if you've got space, then what I really want you to do is to then brainstorm just your affirmation. Okay, your affirmation, your intention. Harnessing the power of intention. We want to create your intention. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be true. It's not cast in stone. Just come up with something. Okay? Even if it's the opposite of the stuff that you're shedding from the list of stuff that you're shedding. Because that'll give you clues to where you're going. That's what the magic of contrast is to know what you do. You only know what you do want when you know what you don't want. That's the relative realm. That's how it works. Cool. So you write down your intention. After that, I want you to list why that intention is important to you, and really infuse it with emotional reasons. What is it going to do? Empowering. All right. So I'm going to give you guys time to do that. All right. I'm going to go outside and light the fire. If anyone's unsure in this, there's the labyrinth outside. It's fully lit with a spotlight. If you need some time to focus and to introspect, please feel free to go and walk the labyrinth. In fact, it's mandatory. Go and walk the labyrinth. Please do it. And so it's and you set an intention as you walk in. My intention is to open myself up to finding more intentions. Whatever. Have a bit of fun with it. It's not too serious. Cool. And then yes. So what are we going to release? An intention. Why? Go for it. The Big Cigar.